devil inside me. H.H. Holmes said this when he was giving his confession to some of his murders that he committed. Many of you probably have some idea of what a serial killer is, due to them being in movies, TV shows, documentaries, and sometimes they're even on the news. I have always been interested in this topic, and I've watched many documentaries, I've read many articles, and on specific serial killers, as well as some of their methods and their motivations behind their killings. In one article I found on the sex differences in serial killers by Marissa Harrison, a psychology teacher at Penn State Harrisburg, she says that there are two types of serial killers: male serial killers, which are hunters, and female serial killers, which are gatherers. Now, the male serial killers that are hunters, they are hunters because they trap their victims in order to kill them, and the female serial killers are gatherers because they kill whoever's more convenient for them to kill. The three serial killers I have done extensive research on are H.H. Holmes, Jane Toppan, and Jeffrey Dahmer. Each of these serial killers are believed to have killed hundreds of people. The first of the three serial killers is H.H. Holmes. Born on May 16, 1861, he was not a seemingly normal child. He was raised by a religious mother and a harsh father, but the harsh father was only the beginning. That part's only the beginning. Okay. Holmes would perform experimental operations on the neighborhood pets that he would find. In the biography on Holmes, written by Bernadette Lynn Bosky, she says that Holmes married Clara Loving in 1878. After working as a schoolmaster, he attended the University of Michigan Medical School in Ann Arbor. Then he ensconced his wife and son with her parents in New Hampshire, abandoning them. He then moved on and opened a pharmacy called the Inglewood Pharmacy, and he had this partner there that people believe he killed, which left him as the sole owner of the pharmacy. This is also around the time that he had changed his name from Herman Webster Mudgett to H.H. Holmes. After the murder of his partner, he became the sole owner, and eventually, after that, he built a huge building called the Castle, in which he rented out rooms to people. Nowadays, it's called the Murder Castle. This is the Murder Castle. So here, this is the outside of how it looked, and here is like some of the key features that were within the Murder Castle. So there were things such as shafts that he would dump his bodies down into that would go into the basement, and he would dissect his bodies, and there were also hidden like rooms, and there were mazes, and he had gas chambers in some of the rooms. And some people thought that the gas chambers were probably for him to knock out women and then molest them. Eventually, not only was Holmes convicted of murder when he was caught, but also of fraud and bigamy. He was married to multiple women at the same time, and he was conducting insurance fraud throughout most of this. Holmes was only convicted of 4 murders, though, but there have been disappearances and little evidence that suggests he killed way more people, due to there also being many ashes inside of a furnace that was below the building, and much jewelry and things. When Holmes was giving his confession, he confessed to killing people who were actually still alive, and he constantly was throwing everyone off throughout the entire trial, and that made him an unreliable source in his own case. Like H.H. Holmes, Jane Toppan also had a harsh father, who ended up abandoning her and her sister 6 years after her mother passed away while giving birth to her sister. 2 years after they were abandoned, Jane was adopted by the Toppan family. The Toppan family didn't exactly, morphine was what would kill her victims because it was overdosing them, and then the atropine was used to cover up any signs of morphine poisoning because morphine would cause people's eyes to change, and the atropine would dilate their eyes. So everyone believed that they were dying because of their illnesses. And her main goal throughout all of this was to kill more men and women than anyone else has ever killed before. Like Jane Toppan, Jeffrey Dahmer's killings were hard for people to notice. Out of all the serial killers I have researched, he is by far the worst one. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer struggled for attention from his parents, mostly because when his parents were going through a divorce, he was 18 years old, and his parents only fought for his younger brother because he was a legal adult already. This is something he took really personally, for a reason I have no idea of. Eventually, his father ended up moving out of the house, which left him the house. And in Jennifer James's biography on Dahmer, she says, on June 18th, 1978, Dahmer met 18-year-old hitchhiker Stephen Hicks and brought him back to the empty house that he now occupied. And the two engaged in sexual intercourse, and afterward, when Hicks tried to leave, Dahmer struck him in the back of the head with a barbell. Years later, Jeffrey killed again, and continuously afterwards, slowly doing new things to his victims, such as necrophilia, cannibalism, and keeping their skulls. Now that you all know more about Holmes, Toppin, and Dahmer, we can conclude. Serial killers have various motivations behind their reasons for their killings. The men, the Dahmer and Holmes, they trapped their victims and they forced them to do things and then killed them. Whereas Jane, she killed all her patients, seeing as she was a nurse. And that was convenient for her to do, which was makes her a gatherer. These are only a few of the serial killers that have once resided in America. Now, serial killers can be anybody in the world, and it could quite possibly be a person that you know.